Have you ever checked your bank account and felt like you accidentally signed up for some premium membership to being broke for life? You know exactly what I am talking about. You put in the hours, you try to be smart about your money, and yet that six-figure savings number feels about as realistic as training unicorns for a living. But here is something that may actually catch you off guard. Hitting your first $100,000 is not some exclusive club reserved for trust fund kids or the guy who threw his lunch money into Dogecoin back in 2020 and got lucky. Once you truly understand how wealth actually gets built and you put the right pieces in place, that first $100,000 can show up a lot sooner than your brain is telling you right now. And here is the part that makes this milestone so different from everything else. It is not just a number. It is the moment your money stops being lazy and starts pulling its own weight, kind of like that one cousin who posts motivational content every single morning on LinkedIn, but somehow never actually does anything. Once you hit that mark, compound interest becomes your closest ally, and the second one, $100,000, builds itself noticeably faster than the first. My name is Nick, and I have spent years going deep into personal finance and helping real people break through the walls that keep them financially stuck. And I want to add something here that most people in this space will never tell you. The journey to $100,000 is not just financial, it is mental. It is about rewiring the way you see money before the money ever shows up in your account. If you want real strategies that have actually worked for people starting from nothing, subscribe and hit like, because what I am about to break down could genuinely be the difference between retiring with options and eating ramen in your 70s. Now, before we get into the strategies themselves, let me give you a real picture of what is actually going on with most people and their finances. Most folks approach saving money the same way they approach the gym in January. The intentions are real, the energy is there at first, but then life kicks in, motivation disappears, and suddenly they are right back where they started wondering why nothing is ever changing. And the truth is, it is not a willpower problem, it is a systems problem. They are fighting without the right tools. Think of it this way. If you are trying to fill a bucket that has holes in the bottom, it does not matter how much water you pour in. You are going to end up with nothing. That is exactly what happens when people earn money without plugging the leaks in their financial life. They work hard, but the system is broken. They are trying to solve a math problem with a crayon when the calculator is sitting right there on the desk. The people who build real wealth understand something the average person misses completely. It is not about extreme sacrifice or living like a monk. It is about making the kind of strategic decisions that quietly compound over time. Every dollar you save today does not just sit there. Thanks to compound growth, it multiplies into several dollars down the road, but you have to be intentional about how you do it. Here is something that might completely change the way you think about all of this. Most people believe that saving money means cutting out coffee or saying no to avocado toast. And yeah, small expenses matter over time, but that thinking is missing the big picture entirely. The real leverage is in the major expenses and in building automated systems that grow wealth for you without you having to think about it every single day. We are talking about moves that can put hundreds or even thousands of dollars back into your hands every single month without making you feel like you are punishing yourself. I am going to walk you through a full system designed to get you to $100,000 faster than you thought was possible. We are covering everything from the psychological traps that keep people financially stuck to the specific moves that people who build real wealth actually use to speed up their savings rate. And yes, I will get to that one strategy that can unlock a serious chunk of your monthly budget. When you hear what it is, you will wonder why more people are not talking about it. But first, let us address the real question. Why is that first $100,000 so much harder than everything that comes after it? It is not just about compound interest, even though that is a massive part of it. It is because in the beginning, every single dollar is coming from your own effort. Your paycheck, your side income, your hustle. You are laying every brick of your financial foundation by hand. But once you cross that $100,000 line, something real starts to happen. Your money starts earning meaningful returns on its own. Instead of a few dollars of interest here and there, you start seeing hundreds or even thousands showing up every month. A 10% annual return that seemed like nothing on a $5,000 portfolio now means $10,000 of growth on a $100,000 account. Your investments start working almost as hard as you do. That is why Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime business partner, said the first $100,000 is the hardest. Once you get that snowball moving down the hill, momentum does the rest. But getting there takes strategy, consistency, and most importantly, the right information about what actually makes a difference. Here is where most financial advice gets it completely wrong. It focuses on tiny things while ignoring the big opportunities. They tell you to clip coupons while your housing is eating half your paycheck. They push you toward the stock market without explaining how taxes can quietly destroy your returns if you are not structured correctly. They talk about emergency funds, but never explain how to optimize your cash flow so you actually need less of one in the first place. What I am about to share is different. These are not feel-good tips that give you the illusion of progress while keeping you stuck in the same spot. These are real strategies that can actually shift your financial direction. Some will go against conventional thinking, some will require you to see money in a way you never have before. But if you stay open and you actually put these into action, you could be looking at your first $100,000 sooner than you ever imagined. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, Nick, this all sounds great, but I am starting from zero. I have got student loans, credit card debt, and I am barely keeping up as it is. I hear you. And what I want you to know is that these strategies work no matter where you are starting from. Some of them are actually more powerful when you are early in the process. The key is understanding that building wealth is a learnable skill. Just like driving a car or picking up an instrument, nobody gets it perfect on the first try. But with the right guidance and consistent action, you can absolutely master it. And the payoff for mastering this particular skill is freedom, security, and options that most people never get to experience in their entire lives. So here is what we are going to do. I am going to walk you through 9 specific strategies that can push you toward that first $100,000 faster. Each one of these can save or generate thousands of dollars per year on its own. When you stack them together, they create a system that cuts the time to your goal down dramatically. Some of these will seem obvious at first, but I promise you are not using them correctly. Others are going to flip everything you thought you knew about money. Stick with me because by the time we are done, you will have a complete roadmap that most people never even come close to figuring out on their own. Let us start with strategy number 9, and this one is going to save you more money than you probably realize. We are talking about tax optimization. And I am not talking about hiding money in offshore accounts or writing off your Netflix as a business expense. I am talking about completely legal strategies that the government literally designed for you to use, but for some reason most people flat out ignore. Here's the reality. Taxes are probably one of your single biggest expenses, right up there with housing and transportation. Yet, most people put more thought into picking their morning coffee order than they do into cutting their tax bill. That is like voluntarily overpaying for everything you buy because you never bothered to look for a coupon that was sitting right in front of your face. The beauty of tax-advantaged accounts like a traditional IRA and a 401k is that they give you an instant discount on every dollar you invest. When you put money into these accounts, you lower your taxable income dollar for dollar. So if you are earning $50,000 a year and you contribute $10,000 to your 401k, you only pay taxes on $40,000 of income. That is a guaranteed return before your investments even begin to grow. And here is where it gets even more interesting. If you are in the 22% tax bracket, every $1,000 you put into a traditional 401k saves you $220 in taxes, which means you only need $780 out of your actual take-home pay to make a $1,000 investment. The government is literally giving you a discount on building your future, and most people are too busy complaining about taxes to even take advantage of it. Strategy number 8 is one that literally puts free money in your pocket, but millions of Americans leave it sitting on the table every single year. I am talking about employer 401k matching. And if you are not maxing this out, you are essentially turning down a raise from your own employer. Think about it this way. If your employer offers a 50% match on your contributions, up to 6% of your salary, they are handing you an immediate 50% return on your investment before the stock market even gets involved. Let us break this down with real numbers. If you make $50,000 a year and your employer matches 50 cents for every dollar you put in up to 6% of your salary, you can contribute $3,000 and your employer drops another $1,500 on top of that. That is $1,500 of free money just for showing up and participating. Find me another investment that guarantees a 50% return on day one, and I will wait. The crazy part is that people will spend hours comparing phone deals to save $50, but they will leave thousands in employer matching sitting there untouched because they think they cannot afford to contribute. It is like turning down a guaranteed winning lottery ticket because you are worried about the taxes on the prize. Now let us get into strategy number 7, and this is where things start getting really interesting. I am talking about building additional income streams that are dedicated specifically to investing. And notice I did not say get a second job or grind more hours at your current one. I said build additional income streams, and that is a very different conversation. The old school advice is to live below your means, which usually just translates to shrink your life so you can save more. But there is a more powerful way to look at this, and honestly a far more enjoyable one. Expand your means while keeping your lifestyle exactly where it is. Instead of trying to squeeze every last cent out of what you already earn, focus on bringing in extra money that goes straight to your wealth building goals. The beautiful thing about this approach is that it does not feel like deprivation. You are not cutting anything you enjoy. You are creating new money that was never part of your original budget to begin with. It is like finding money in your couch cushions, except instead of $20, you are finding hundreds or thousands every single month. This could be freelancing in your area of expertise, starting a small business on nights and weekends, or monetizing a skill you already have. The key is to mentally keep this income completely separate from your regular paycheck. Your normal income handles your living expenses and your lifestyle. This extra money has one job and one job only, and that is building your wealth. When you separate those two things in your head, saving aggressively stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like strategy. Strategy number 6 is going to test your patience, but it is absolutely non-negotiable if you want to squeeze the maximum return out of your investments. I am talking about reinvesting every single dividend instead of spending it. I get it. When that dividend payment lands in your account, it feels like your investments are paying you a salary for being smart enough to own them. But the real power of dividend investing is not in the cash you can spend today. It is in the compound growth you build by putting those payments right back to work. When you reinvest your dividends and buy more shares, those new shares pay you more dividends, which you use to buy even more shares. It just keeps building on itself like a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and faster the whole way down. Let me give you some numbers that will make this feel very real. Over the last century, the S&P 500 has averaged about 10.7% in annual returns when dividends were reinvested. But if you had pulled those dividends out as cash instead, your average return would have dropped down to just 6.6%. That 4% difference might feel small right now, but over 30 years of investing it is the difference between a comfortable retirement and wondering whether you can even afford to stop working at all. This strategy requires long-term thinking and the ability to resist the pull of instant gratification. Every time that dividend hits your account, you have a choice. You can spend it on something you will forget about in 2 weeks, or you can use it to buy more assets that will keep paying you for decades to come. Strategy number 5 is all about keeping more of what you actually earn by cutting down on investment fees. I know this sounds boring, but I promise you this is one of the most impactful things you can do to speed up your wealth building, and most people completely overlook it. Investment fees are like a silent tax that quietly eats away at your returns, and the average person has no clue how much they are actually paying or how much damage it is doing over time. Here's the thing about investment fees. They look small on an annual basis, but they compound against you just like your returns compound for you. A fund charging 1% annually versus one charging 0. 1% might seem like a tiny difference, but over 30 years, that extra 0.9% in fees can quietly rob you of hundreds of thousands of dollars in growth. The good news is you do not have to pay high fees to access quality investment options anymore. Index funds that track the S&P 500 are essentially the same product across different companies, so there is zero reason to pay more for the exact same thing. It is like choosing between two identical cars where one is $30,000 and the other is $35,000. Why would anyone pay more for the exact same vehicle? When you are working toward your first $100,000, every single dollar matters, and every dollar you keep from being eaten by fees is a dollar that gets to compound and grow for your future. A small amount of research upfront on this can save you tens of thousands of dollars over the course of your entire investing life. Strategy number 4 is going to challenge what you have always been told about being a smart investor, but trust me on this one. I am talking about stopping the urge to constantly buy and sell your investments based on what the market is doing at any given moment. I know that feels counterintuitive because financial news makes it seem like successful investing is all about perfectly timing every single move, but that is completely wrong. Here is the truth that most people do not want to accept. Trying to time the market is like trying to guess which elevator will arrive first in a packed office building. You might get lucky a couple of times, but long term you are going to end up frustrated and in a far worse position than if you had just been patient from the start. The data on this is crystal clear. The average investor who tries to time the market consistently underperforms the market itself by several percentage points every single year. Here is what usually happens. The market drops 10% and suddenly everyone is convinced it is the beginning of another Great Depression. They sell everything feeling clever for cutting their losses. Then the market bounces back up 20%, but they are still sitting in cash waiting for the perfect moment to get back in. By the time they finally feel safe enough to invest again, they have missed the majority of the recovery. The math on this is brutal. If you miss just the 10 best days in the stock market over a 30-year period, your returns get cut nearly in half. And here is the part that makes it even worse. Those best days tend to happen right after the worst days when everyone is in full panic mode and selling everything. So the people trying to avoid the bad days end up missing the best days too. When you are building your first $100,000, your only job is to put money in consistently and leave it alone. Let the market do what it does best, which is grow over time. Some years will be great, some will be rough, and most will land somewhere in between. But if you stay consistent and keep feeding the machine, the power of compound growth will do things that will genuinely surprise you. Strategy number 3 is where we talk about actually picking the right investments, and this is where most people either overthink everything to death or do not think about it at all, and both approaches will cost you serious money. On one side, you have people spending endless hours researching individual stocks, chasing the next Amazon or Apple, and usually ending up with a portfolio that looks like they threw darts at a financial newspaper. On the other side, you have people dropping their money wherever a coworker told them to, or worse, letting it sit in a savings account earning almost nothing. Here is the truth about picking investments when you are starting out. Your goal should be solid and consistent growth, not hitting home runs. You are not trying to get rich fast. You are trying to get rich for certain. The best way to do that is by putting your money into broad market index funds, specifically ones that track the S&P 500. His gives you ownership in roughly 500 of the largest and most successful companies in America, all inside one simple investment. Think about what that actually means. When you buy an S&P 500 index fund, you own a piece of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and hundreds of other companies that are generating serious money. These are not speculative bets on what might be the next big thing. These are established businesses with proven track records of creating real wealth for their shareholders. The beauty of this approach is that you do not need to be a financial genius to win with it. You do not need to read annual reports or analyze price-to-earnings ratios or try to figure out what the Federal Reserve is going to do next week. You just buy a piece of American business success and let capitalism do what it has always done best. For younger investors who are decades away from retirement, you might consider leaning slightly into growth-focused funds, which target companies that are expanding rapidly. These can be more volatile in the short term, but when time is on your side, that volatility actually becomes your friend because it creates more chances to buy shares at lower prices and ride them up. Strategy number 2 is probably the most important one on this entire list, and it is the one that separates people who build real lasting wealth from people who stay permanently stuck on the financial hamster wheel. I am talking about avoiding lifestyle inflation. And this is where most people unknowingly blow up their own financial future without ever seeing it coming. Here is how the trap works. You start your career making something like $40,000 a year. You live in a modest apartment, drive a used car, and cook a lot of pasta because that is what fits your budget. Then you get a promotion and you are now at $50,000. Instead of investing that extra $10,000, you decide you deserve a nicer place because you worked hard for that raise. Then another raise brings you to $60,000, and now you need a better car to go with your new income. Before you know it, you are making twice what you started with and still living paycheck to paycheck like nothing ever changed. The people who build real wealth understand something that most people completely miss. Your lifestyle should be based on what you want your life to actually look like, not on whatever your current paycheck happens to be. Every single time your income goes up, you have a choice. You can inflate your lifestyle to match your new earnings, or you can hold your lifestyle steady and invest the difference. And here is something that will probably surprise you about lifestyle inflation. It does not even make most people meaningfully happier. Studies consistently show that once your basic needs are met, additional spending has rapidly diminishing returns on actual happiness. Upgrading from a Honda Civic to a BMW feels incredible for maybe a few weeks, and then it just becomes your regular car. Meanwhile, that extra monthly payment is quietly blocking you from building the kind of wealth that would give you real freedom. The average millionaire saves more than half of their income, not because they are cheap or unhappy, but because they understand that every dollar saved today turns into several dollars down the road. They get more satisfaction from watching their net worth grow than from buying expensive things to impress people who are not paying their bills anyway. When you get your next raise, here is exactly what I want you to do. Take at least half of that increase and set up an automatic investment immediately. Do not even let it hit your checking account where it will disappear into your regular spending. Treat it like a tax that goes directly to your future self. You can still enjoy some of that extra income, but make absolutely sure your wealth is growing faster than your lifestyle is. And now we have arrived at strategy number 1, the big one I have been building toward this entire time. This is the strategy that can free up more money in your monthly budget than any other single change you can possibly make, and most people are completely overlooking it. I am talking about optimizing your housing costs. And yes, this might mean making some decisions that go completely against what society tells you to do. Here is the honest truth that almost nobody wants to say out loud. If you are spending more than 30% of your income on housing, you are making it nearly impossible to build wealth at any kind of meaningful speed. For most people, housing is by far the largest expense on the board. When you stack up rent or mortgage, plus utilities, plus insurance, plus maintenance, it can easily gobble up 40%, 50%, or even 60% of your monthly income. At that level, you are essentially working just to keep a roof over your head and nothing else is getting built. But here is what people do not realize about housing costs. They are often far more flexible than anyone assumes, even though most treat them like they are permanently locked in. You might feel like you need to live in a certain area or have a certain amount of space, but a lot of that is lifestyle preference, not actual necessity. I am not telling you to go sleep under a bridge, but I am telling you to get creative about reducing this massive expense, at least temporarily, while you build your financial foundation. This could mean getting roommates to split the costs, relocating to a more affordable area, or exploring house hacking where you buy a small multi-unit property, live in one unit, and let the rent from the other units cover your costs. The numbers on this are genuinely staggering. Say you are currently spending $2,000 a month on housing, and you find a way to bring that down to $1,200. That is $800 a month back in your hands, which is almost $10,000 a year. Over 20 years at a 10% annual return, that one single change could add over $500,000 to your net worth. And I already know some of you are thinking, Nick, I cannot just pick up and move or start taking in roommates. I have a career, a family, real responsibilities. I understand that, and I am not saying every single person can or should make dramatic changes to their living situation. But what I am saying is that if building wealth quickly is genuinely important to you, then you owe it to yourself to at least explore what is possible. Maybe you cannot cut your housing costs in half, but could you trim them by 20%? Even that would make an enormous difference compounded over time. And here is the most important thing to keep in mind about all of this. It does not have to be forever. You are not committing to a lifetime of living small. You are making a calculated move for a few years to set yourself up for decades of real financial freedom. Once that foundation is built and your investments are generating real returns, you can live wherever you want because your money is going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Here's what I want you to take away from everything we covered today. These strategies are not designed to work alone. They are designed to stack on top of each other, and when they do, the results compound faster than most people ever expect. Tax optimization frees up money you can put directly to work. Employer matching adds free dollars on top of that. Additional income streams give you more fuel to pour into the fire. Reinvesting dividends supercharges your long-term growth. Low fees keep more of your money actually working for you. Avoiding market timing protects you from the expensive emotional mistakes that hurt most investors. Choosing the right investments makes sure you are building on solid ground. Avoiding lifestyle inflation keeps your savings rate strong no matter what your income does. And optimizing your housing costs frees up the single biggest chunk of your budget to aim directly at your goals. When you commit to all of these together, reaching $100,000 stops being a wish and starts becoming something that is simply a matter of time. It is not about making perfect decisions every single day. It is about building systems that keep working even when your motivation dips or life throws something at you. Remember, the first $100,000 is special because it is where real momentum begins. Once you hit that number, compound interest becomes a force you can actually feel moving in your account. Your investments start generating real returns, not just pocket change. And that is when building wealth starts feeling less like pushing a boulder straight uphill and more like riding a wave that is already moving in your direction. The path to financial independence is not complicated, but it does demand patience, consistency, and the willingness to make choices that most people around you simply will not make. Most people are going to keep spending everything they earn and quietly hoping that one day something changes for them. But you now have the knowledge and the tools to build a completely different story for yourself. Your future self is depending on the decisions you make right now. Every dollar you save and invest today is a direct gift to the person you are becoming 10, 20, and 30 years from now. If this video gave you real value, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I am going to keep bringing you strategies that actually move the needle and help you build the financial future you deserve. Keep stacking, keep investing, and keep making smart decisions one move at a time.